So welcome to
nice
Wednesday's.
hair, Trish.
Sorry?
I just said nice hair, Trish.
Thank you.
It is. It's gorgeous, isn't it? I love it.
Just today.
Yeah. So welcome to Women's Wine Time, where we connect with each other. Each week we have a different topic. There is a variety of things that we like to talk about. There is no topic off limits. So we grab our vinos, we join each other, and we just have some fun. We have a laugh and we connect. So welcome everybody to tonight. And for those of you who are listening back in on the recording at a later date, welcome. Thank you for being here. And we hope you really enjoyed tonight. My guest tonight is an incredible woman. I know her personally. She is my book marketing coach, who has helped me through the highs and the lows and kept me motivated and accountable, and I will be forever grateful to her. It is the beautiful Trish Springsteen. Welcome.
Hello. Hi. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, Trish, I am so grateful that you're on here tonight. Trish, do you want to tell us a little bit about, you know, what you do and how you help people? Because I know you don't just have the Book Marketing Club, which has been, you know, just such an asset to me as a published author. What else do you do and how do you help people?
Basically, my passion is helping people to get known, be seen, and to make it easy for their clients to find them. So it's working with individuals to look outside the box and find what they've got, what they're doing, how can they repurpose and leverage it and push it out there. So clients who may be hunting around in the wilderness saying, oh, I need this person, can actually then hone in and say, oh, there is that person I need. And that means looking at whether you need to blog, whether you need to write, whether you need to be online, whether you need to have workshops, whatever it is, how you do it. And then that's two of my favorite words. I like that. That's exactly what I do. You make sure you get known, be seen, and be heard.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. And my other two favorite words are repurpose and leverage, so that you don't have content overload, so that you can find those gold nuggets and do it. And that's what I do. I speak, I mentor, I write, all of those. I think someone's getting...
You have published a lot of books. How many books have you actually published? Because the number is phenomenal.
There's a big story behind all of that. Up to about 4 years ago, I had one book with my then business partner. And we did that a real lazy way by taking our favorite blogs and turning them into a book really quick. And then we just parked things because that's what we wanted to do. And then about 4 years ago, my partner and I parted amicably. And I was left having to do the blog and the articles and all that. And I was doing blogs, but I didn't see myself as a writer. I mean, goodness me, it'd taken me nearly 40 years to see myself as a speaker, let alone be writing of any sort. So then I had to do the blogs, and I did that. And then I got a request from people in America to do a chapter for a book. And I just said no.
Why did you say no?
I don't write. I said, no, I just speak. You want me to write a chapter? It's not going to be very good. Because I had this mindset, and that's one of the things I want to talk about, there's different mindsets that people have. I had this mindset that I wasn't a writer. My mindset was that my then business partner, even though I helped write the blogs and we took turns doing that, even though I helped write the workshops, I just thought she was the writer and I was the speaker. And I put a lot of time and effort into that. So I just didn't think I could write. And so they kept coming back, and I realized, well, I've got to walk my talk. I keep telling people to get out there and go outside the comfort zone, be known, be seen. So I thought, it's a book in America. Nobody in Australia is going to read it. So I'll be safe. I'll just write this chapter. And it won't matter if it's awful because nobody in Australia is going to see it. Big mistake. People in Australia saw it. The thing is, they liked it. And they liked what I'd written. And I sat back, and that was a big aha moment. So basically, to answer your first question, which was the long way round, in the last 4 years, I have written, co-authored, or been a contributing author to 16 books. And that's in 4 years. And I have 3 more that will be out shortly. And I love writing, because what I discovered was that all I have to do is speak and channel my speaking through my hand and write it on the paper or on the computer or wherever you want to put it. But it was just writing my spoken words. And when I got through that mindset and owned who I was and believed in who I was, that broke the dam. And so that's sort of what I wanted to talk about, was the mindsets, because it took me a long time to speak, because I'm an introvert. And I always say, and people laugh, I say, back in the Jurassic period, no one would ever have thought, when I came out of high school, that I would speak or that I would write. I was a great reader, but I wasn't doing any of those things, because I just like to do my business, go to work, curl up in a corner of a book, have my family, and no way did I want the light being shine on me. No.
Where do you think that stemmed from?
Look, I was just happy in my family. I love to read, and I just, that's where my energy was. And loads of people and crowds just took my energy, and I just didn't like it. And I wasn't, and not only was I an introvert, I don't like labels, but basically that's what I was. I was extremely shy. And I just had 4 other friends at school. There was 5 of us, and we've been friends since school right through to now. We meet every year for Christmas dinner. We've been friends that long. Wow. But that's all I needed. And I met my husband by accident. That's a story in itself. I can share that if you like, but not really.
Yeah. Do we want to? I want to hear it.
Do you want to hear that story?
Yes, I want to hear it.
I'll think exactly. Well, I guess it tells you how an introvert can meet somebody.
Yeah.
I was studying in Melbourne, studying to be a medical records administrator, which is a whole other story again. And I was sharing a flat with someone from Tuak. And if you know Tuak, that was upper class people. Yeah. And she was really out there, really nice black girl. And anyway, she'd gone off to go swimming, and I had a cold. I was raging cold. I had eyes were streaming, my nose was red, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. So I'm there in my flat, and I get this knock on the door. I open up, and there's this guy. And he asked for my flatmate. And I said, no, she's not here. She's gone off somewhere. And that was about where the conversation was going to end as far as I was concerned. And then he just looked at me and he said, can you just hang on a second? I'll be right back. And I always laugh at this because he went away and he came back and he'd had his glasses on. I thought, okay, there's 2 ways I can take this. But anyway, he'd gone and put his glasses on. And we got talking. And we went out. He asked me out and we went out. Now, our first date was on St Kilda Beach. There was a full moon. We had rescued a dog that had been lost and taken it somewhere. And we sat down on this bench, and he's sitting there and he's quoting poetry that he had written to me. I was gone. Like,
well, because you were a reader too.
I just went, but I didn't tell him that. I just said to him, well, I'm studying here and in 12 months I'm going to go to Perth and work. I never got to Perth. No. And we went out. And the funny thing was, I'd met this doctor, the student doctor, one of my forays, someone had dragged me to. I kept getting dragged to places I didn't like. I was happy doing my psychology assignments at home. I didn't want to go out. And I'd said to Mum, oh, I've met this doctor and his name's Peter. So it happens to be that my husband's name is Peter. So after our first date, we came home and Mum was coming down to see me and she walked in, she said, oh, so this is the Dr. Peter. And I'm going, oh, no. No, Mum, this isn't Dr. Peter, this is another Peter.
Wrong Peter, Ma.
He told me about, asked me about, I think about 4 weeks after that, it was just before Valentine's Day, and it was after that, he said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, ha, 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 no, I'm going to Perth, not getting married. So we went out, and towards the end of that year, I had to make a decision. I was going to come home for a while. And I sat down and I looked, and I thought, do I go home without Peter? And I thought about what my life was going to be like. Got engaged, got married.
Wow.
Go to Perth. So that's how an introvert meets her husband.
So poetry was what won you over.
And there's no way he's an introvert, he's an extrovert. So,
oh, wow. Wow, that's an incredible story.
it's completely off topic, but there you go.
It's a beautiful story.
My life is sort of like that. It's a very much that, what do you call that, sliding door thing, you know, which door do you go through? And depending what you decide on that moment could change your life. I may not have been home that day. We might not have met him. I mean, before that, I used to do 10-pin bowling. And these group of Americans came out to bowl. I was in Canberra. And got really friendly with one of the guys there. And I didn't know this till a couple of years later, because I was about 16 at the time. A couple of years later, Mum said to me, do you know that guy that came out to America? And I said, yeah, and you were friendly with? I said, yeah. She said, when he went back, he wrote a letter to us and said he wanted to marry you, and he would be very happy to pay for you to do all your study, because he was coming out to live in Perth for a little while. He was in the Navy, I think. And he was wanting to do that. And Mum said, we just got back and said, well, you need to talk to her. And he contacted me, and I wasn't interested. I wasn't even thinking of marriage at that stage. So there's my life. I trip over things. Things just happen.
It could have, your life could have been very different to what it is now.
It is.
Because you're still happily married to Peter, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Where are we up to? In November, it'll be 44 years.
Wow.
And we've gone through a lot.
Well done. Like, that is huge. To be married to someone for 44 years.
Yeah.
Is to be congratulated. That's phenomenal.
He's the wind beneath my wings. He's always supported me in anything I've done. Doesn't matter what it is. He's there to support me. It backs me up.
Well, I went to your Planning for Profit in January, and Peter was there. He was, he had got the biscuits ready, and, you were bossing him around. He was 100% behind you.
Yeah.
And it was just, to me, I was just in awe at, how much of a support he was to you. And I thought, that's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah.
You can see him ranting when people don't come and book with me or buy my books or do this. Don't they know how good you are? Oh, they're idiots. He just goes right off in this rant. I said, it's okay, darling. People don't always have to come with me. It's quite okay. No, as far as I'm concerned, everybody should work with me regardless.
Oh, bless his cotton socks. That's just adorable. Oh, that's so sweet.
He's not
very
perfect.
Blessed. No, but nobody is, and I think to have that support behind you, I mean, let's be honest, you wouldn't be where you are today without him supporting you.
No, I wouldn't. But life could be different. I mean, we've had he supported me when I decided to go up and get my business degree, which was 6 years part-time while I was working and bringing up the 2 kids.
Yeah.
Full-time, doing the degree part-time and bringing up the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, you've lost a son together, which is, that normally breaks people apart, and you survived that too. It's just incredible.
We've survived having to sell one of my dream homes because he'd gone out of work and we didn't have the money to pay the mortgage, so we had to sell the home. We've gone through homes, we've gone up and down. Breast cancer. I
was going to mention that one too. Yeah,
breast cancer. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. So let's get on to the topic today, and that is, mindset. You are very knowledgeable in this area, Tell us about mindset.
Look, I talk about 8 powerful mindset lessons. I'm not going to go through all of them, but these are things that I've learned through my life. The things I learned through my life, the things I've learned through my business, there's things I learned what I call as an introvert speaker. As I said, I'm an introvert, and define myself as an introvert because I like to just energize. I'm quite happy by myself to energize. I'm quite happy to go read a book, to go off into my fantasy land and get my energy back. I don't read many business books because for me, reading is where I recharge. So I read a lot of science fiction, a lot of paranormal. So that's where I go. But I know how, and I've worked over my years to be able to get up and speak, because I know that if I've got a message, I can't hide in the corner reading. It's being selfish. And it took me a while to learn that. But there are people out there that need to hear what I have to say. And that took me a long time to actually believe in myself and believe in that message. Didn't think I had a story. Didn't think I had a message. My life was just fiddling along, and that's what
I didn't have a story. You got 16 books.
No stories. No stories. I changed my mind a bit about that. I had it sort of yelled at and pushed in. And when something gets pushed into your face and you have an aha moment, you've got 2 things. You either accept what the universe has pushed into your face, or you buck it. And the universe doesn't like that. If you don't buck it, if you don't stand up and you don't take responsibility, it's just going to keep shoving things at you. So, just accept what it says and accept who you are. I think that's the biggest thing is understand your potential. This is my first thing I wanted to give you. We all can achieve amazing things when we put our mind to it. We all have potential. But what happens is a lot of us don't accept or understand our potential. We're too busy hiding. We're too busy saying we're not good enough. We're too busy saying that, that person's brilliant. They're doing that. Or why should I step up and do that? Because they're already doing something like that. So it took me many years to realize my potential. And it wasn't until I believed in myself and I realized I could achieve that I accepted my potential. And you know what? When you accept your potential, it's freaking awesome. Because life just moves forward. Your momentum starts moving forward and opportunities come. And if you don't realize that, you don't see those opportunities. And that's sad. And it's being selfish, because when you realize your potential, you're prepared to stand up and share that. A few other things you have to go through first, but you get there. And then, because if I don't stand up and speak, if I don't sit here and share with you what I'm doing, and don't open myself and let you see who I am and what I've got to say, then I'm being selfish. Because if only one of you or anybody who hears this recording, it doesn't matter, if only one word that I say, one word, one sentence, it changes something or it resonates with you and it leaves you to move or change something, then that's absolutely freaking awesome. And if I don't get up and share that, then I'm freakingly being selfish. And I can't do that. So whether I know when I'm changed or not, I put it out there, because that means people can at least find it. And I've had it proven to me that it does take time for seeds. For all of you who may be doing things or trying something new and you think it's not happening quick enough, well, it won't happen quick enough sometimes. I had someone come up to tell me that it was 5 years ago that they heard me speak at a function that was not a huge thing, but it was somewhere I spoke. And that the words that I said there had led them to start moving on their journey and moving on their path 5 freaking years ago, and someone I never knew. So if I hadn't realized my potential and what I call 60 seconds of insane courage and stepped up and done it, then that person's life, maybe someone else might have done it, maybe not. We don't know. But I laid out something there that she could resonate from. And that's basically why I do what I do. There's a lot of other things I do, but that's the biggest thing I want you to take away is understand your potential and beware the opportunities. The other thing I'd like you to think about is learn from your mistakes. I've made heaps of mistakes. Make mistakes every day. And one of those things I say is you look back at your mistakes and you take the lessons from them, and then you look forward and put those lessons into place and move forward. Everything that you do is a learning exercise. But most of us look back and just see the failures and see, well, it didn't work, I'm not going to go forward again and do it. And that just stops you from moving. So I learn from my mistakes. Do I cry? Do I rant? Do I yell? Yep, I do. I'm not perfect. Do I get upset? Do I go down? Yep, I do. But then I sit back and think, okay, what have I learned from that? And what I'm talking about now is probably all the things that I'm talking about. Understanding your potential and learning from your mistakes and embracing change and taking responsibility and knowing my strengths and grabbing opportunities and connecting with people and listening to feedback. It's all come from learning from my mistakes in my life. It's all come from pushing my comfort zone as an introvert, of getting up and speaking and of putting myself out there. It's all come from that. And they're not easy. None of those things are easy. But each one of those things is powerful because each one lets you move forward and you don't stagnate. And don't get me started because I could speak for an hour and a half on this.
Oh, you've got me a bit emotional, Trish. That's
Okay.
really resonated with me. You know, I think for a lot of us, we have sort of been held back by this idea of perfectionism. And, you know, if it's not perfect, then we can't move forward. And I think what you're saying is, you know, what's really come out for me is that, you know, you need to just be who you are.
Absolutely.
And move forward just as you are. And we're not going to get it perfect. We're going to make mistakes. And I remember when I was, you know, I was told as a teenager that I would never amount to anything. That I'd probably, the best job I'd ever have was probably a garbage man. That's what my career test came out with. And when I went to the careers counsellor at 16 and they asked me, what are your uni preferences? And I said, you know, I want to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer. I want to, you know, fight for justice. She said to me, you need to really reassess that name a lot lower because you're not going to get there. That's what she said to me. And my parents were paying $12,000 a year for a private girls' school. And this lady basically told me, you got no hope, Dal. And what I took away from that meeting was this, I'm going to prove her wrong. And I didn't get into law school straight away. I had to work my tail off. And I ended up getting in my second year of uni. And I graduated with honours. I ended up having a really high GPA. I did a double degree in law and international business, and I became a lawyer. Absolutely. And for somebody who was told that they were a garbage, they would be, you know, the most they'd amount to is a garbage. She said a garbage man, not even a garbage woman. I look back at that moment and I could have, you know, and what you were saying before, you can use that moment to define who you're going to be, who you are. And I had on this, when I was going through law school, I had this, I always had a vision board, and the big poster right in the center of this vision board. And I can't off the top of my head remember who this quote is from, but it was, the quote basically said, make mistakes, make all the mistakes you can, because that's the way that you're going to learn. Absolutely. And so that's the motto that I sort of stood by as I, you know, did the assignments, and I, you know, and I mean, Cara would know, it's not an easy course to do. You know, and we missed out on a lot of things because we were busy studying. But I think if there's anything that people can get from tonight, it's that you don't have to be perfect. You know, make all the mistakes that you can. But I think what Trish is saying is that you just need to be authentically you and stay in your own lane.
You do. and embrace change, because that's the other thing that really holds people up, because they get into their comfort zone, they get into doing things over and over, and something goes. We're right in the middle of it right now, is a prime example of it, and it trips them up. Life is a series of changes, and isn't that absolutely brilliantly awesome? Every day you get up in the morning, it is a series of changes, and you never know what's going to come. Some of it's not so good. Some of it is really amazing. I went to Melbourne to study to be a medical records administrator. And the reason I went to Melbourne to do that was because there was nobody, it was a new course, and there was nowhere else doing it. And there was nobody in Canberra who was even, none of the hospitals had medical records administrators. 2 years of study, and I came back, and there was no job in Canberra, because in the 2 years I was away, all the positions have been filled by medical records administrators. Now, I could have just, stayed where I was. This was funny because I dragged Peter up from Melbourne, because I said, I'm not staying down there, and if you're going to get engaged, you've got to come to Canberra. So he came up to Canberra to work. I couldn't get a job, so I ended up doing our whole year of engagement working in Sydney while he was in Canberra. So, because I decided that I trained and I was going to get some experience. So I went up to Sydney to work. I have not worked as a medical records administrator since then, and that's 43 years ago. However, were those 2 years a waste in that year I worked? No. I learnt from them, and everything I've learnt from them has taken me through every job that I've done. I did 10 years working in the travel industry, which was a complete 360 degrees. And I can tell you what, being an introvert is not good when you're working in the travel industry. I didn't think I had to talk to anybody. That didn't work out too well. You do have to talk to people. I mean, I thought medical records administrator was good because I could hide in the bowels of the hospital and I wouldn't have to talk to anybody. That was okay, but I couldn't get a job. So then I did 10 years working with the Medical Indemnity Society of Queensland. So I was working for doctors. All these are male-dominated industries. I managed the change and the merge and managed myself out of a job. They wanted me to go to Sydney. I wasn't going to Sydney to work. So I took a real big 360-degree turn and went and managed a crematorium and funeral industry for 12 months.
Wow.
And that is the best thing I could ever done in my whole life, because that gave me insights into death, into grieving, into families. It pushed me out of my comfort zone. They never told me I had to do cremations. I'm not going to go down that fact, but I'm not very tall. I'm only 156 centimeters tall. These are big, huge urns with coffins. Try cremating. It's really out of this world. It taught me a hell of a lot, because when I lost Craig, when I lost my father, when I lost my grandmother, I knew how to handle all of that, because I knew all the processes of what happens, the paperwork that you've got to do, what the cremations are like, what the funeral is like. It was the best 12 months of my life. And I'd still be there, except unfortunately, and I think it's terribly unfair, that people in the funeral industry get paid lousy amount of money for what they've got to do.
I completely agree with you, Trish.
And but that was the best 12 months of my life in spiritual growth, in personal growth, spiritualized personal growth, centering who I was. I came out of there knowing who I was, knowing that death is nothing to be feared, and knowing that I was here on earth for a purpose and a reason, and I needed to live my purpose and my reason. So then I went and did 10 years in the energy.
Well, from an outside perspective, just going back to that, from an outside perspective, I would think working in that industry for 12 months would have been depressing, would have been tragic, would have been sad, and you're saying that it wasn't. you're kind of saying that it's completely the opposite.
Look, it is depressing, it is sad, because you're dealing with grief and you're dealing with family in a time that is just really out. But personally,
it
gave me an insight into, I don't like saying the meaning of life, because I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying, but for me, it gave me an insight into life, an insight into death. I mean, we don't normally confront death until we are faced with death. And at that time, when we are faced with death, we are dealing with it on a personal level with so much happening. There's so much confusion. There's paperwork. There's decisions to be made. There's a person that you have lost. And so it's hard to absorb that. And for some, after that, they can absorb and take on what's going. But when you work in that industry for 12 months, you're dealing with death and grieving, but it's not, you are dealing with it from a step back. And so you can see...
Well, you're still alive.
Yeah. But I'm not personally involved in it. So I can see how it changes. I can see the effects it has on people. I can see the dynamics, the growth, the not so growth, the anger, the fights. Funerals and death can bring up so much. It is so much.
But did you find your purpose in that?
Well, yes. What I found was myself. I found that I had a completely different perspective on death. Yeah. And really, it does not fear me.
Yeah, because a lot of people do fear death.
I don't fear it, because it is a life process. Until we
don't exactly die, do we?
No, we just move on. And I've seen so much of that. I am not psychic. I'm not spiritual like a lot of other people I know who can actually connect. But I know and feel that there is more, and there is another step forward, because I've seen it's just, I don't know. It was the most peaceful freaking time of my life. It was so
I'm just so intrigued, because I completely agree with you. I think that you can either choose to, I have experienced I haven't been a funeral director or anything like that, but I have experienced a lot of death. And people think, ask me, are you fearful of death? Are you scared? Are you, is it, is that negative energy? And to be honest with you, after experiencing all that, I'm not afraid of it. But I think because I've been so close to it that I'm not,
It's just another step. It's another step in where you go.
Can I pipe in?
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention this, Jess. I don't know if you knew that I actually trained as what we call a death doula.
Did you really?
You have a death midwife, yeah. So you have a birth midwife. I trained as a death midwife because people get so excited about the sacred birth. Birth is sacred. It's such an amazing time, the transition of the soul into this lifetime, into the mother and father's arms, etc. But then we look at death and we actually push away from it and don't realize that it is just another beautiful sacred transition. And unfortunately, sometimes that comes with pain. And so people go, oh, death, bad, oh, yuck. But when you think about birth guarantees it's going to come with pain.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, birth is extremely painful.
Yeah, it's guaranteed, but we don't go, oh, God, we're not going to do birth because that just comes with too much pain. But we do say that about death. Yeah, we say that about death, but death's just another beautiful sacred transition from one life into the next step, as you said.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pipe in. It is a very sacred time, and I can understand, Trish, how it brought you peace, even though there's upheaval, disturbance, upset, etc. But when you really allow the process to sink in, you realize, wow, it just is. I've done this life now. Yeah.
Okay, that's on my list. We're going to have another discussion about death, because I think it is a really important topic. I do.
I didn't mean to go down that track, but you
no,
wanted to know
it's phenomenal.
I 12 months,
Yeah.
one of the best things I ever did. It was.
Yeah.
It's given me a lot to take forward with all the dealing with everything else. Do I still personal? Do I still cry? Do I still grieve? Yeah, but I know that I can deal with it because of that. And then I went and did 10 years in the energy industry, bidding electricity in the marketplace for power generators. So that's my life.
And then now you do what you do.
Now I do what I do.
Do you feel like you finally found your purpose?
Do you know, that's a good question, because I don't want to finally find my purpose. That sounds a bit controversial, but if I finally find my purpose, then I reckon life would be pretty boring.
Well, one of your purposes. I think we have many purposes.
I am absolutely fine where I am. I believe in what I'm doing. I am happy with who I am, and I own who I am. I am not perfect. And do I make a lot of money? Not as much as I'd like to, but I love working with the people I work with. I absolutely love seeing that maybe a few words or my presence or something I do with them can help them grow, and I sit back and watch them grow. And to me, that is the most freakingly awesome thing that I can do. Up to 2 years ago, I loved what I was doing, and I just thought I was doing things. You know, I just kept up and I do it, and I do my speaking, I work with the corporates, I do my mentoring, and I had still more to grow, because 2 years ago, I was nominated for an Inspirational Woman Award.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you know what I did with the book? I did the same thing with the Inspirational Woman Award. I said, excuse me, but I'm not inspirational. Why would you nominate me for this? Because I'm thinking, there's people who have lived through domestic violence. There are people who are doing freaking awesome things out there, working with the underprivileged, with charities, with caring. And I'm just a person that helps people speak, helps people get out there and know what they want to do. And I came that close to not completing the nomination after I was nominated. And I stopped and I said to myself, you know what? I had this aha moment. I said, you are being arrogant. You are being dismissive, because who are you to tell someone that their perception of you is wrong? Who are you to make assumptions on their behalf? If they value and have gone to that effort to nominate you, then you have nothing else but to honor what they have said. And I stopped and thought, I was being arrogant and dismissive. I had no right to dismiss their view. I had no right to dismiss their perception. I had no right to tell them they were wrong. It was my attitude that was wrong. So I completed the application form and went off, and it was an interview one, which I had to go and be interviewed by a panel. And I actually wasn't even going to go to the awards night, because I knew who else was on there. And I thought, well, I've done it. I've put it in there. I've gone to that. I've honoured what they've said. And I had a couple of friends who said, no, you've got to go, Trish. You've got to go. Oh, okay. You're going to get dressed up. No, I'm not going to get dressed up. Yes, you will. You've got to come and dress. I thought, oh, okay, I'll go. There is a video around on my Facebook of the announcement of that award. And that video shows you the shock on my face when it was announced that I won that award. It was completely out of left field. I wasn't even prepared for it, because I thought the other person had done so much and was so inspirational. So that was a big aha that pulled me up to make me think that our perceptions, what we perceive we do, is our perceptions. We don't see the impact of what we do on other people. And so we should accept, and it goes along with the same thing as when people say, oh, that was great. And the first thing you say was, no, it was okay, it was nothing. Well, excuse me, that's diminishing their thoughts. You say thank you, you accept it. So if someone nominates you for something, you don't denigrate it. You accept that for them, there is value in you. And I learned a big lesson from that. And I've got awards as, my other favorite award is as a mentor, because I didn't expect to get that one other. And that was a worldwide award for mentoring, because that's very close to my soul. But that inspiration award really woke me up to realize that we are all of us. It doesn't matter who we are. We are inspirational to someone, and we should accept that.
Wow. 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 Just, yeah, what a phenomenal story that you've shared with us. I'm just gobsmacked that, you know, you've come so far on this journey, and yet, you know, from my perspective, you know, I can easily, you know, resonate with some of the things that you're saying. And I'm just, yeah, wow, Trish, you've done some phenomenal things, and you've certainly inspired me along my journey. You've picked me up when I haven't felt like I can move forward. So I just want to say a huge thank you for sharing tonight. You have been completely open, you've been completely honest, and I'm so grateful to have your wisdom and for you to share all that you've shared tonight. So thank you so much. Thank you.
I hope I haven't bored you or overwhelmed you.
No, you certainly haven't. I've just been on this roller coaster of emotions tonight. I felt like I've been with you as you told us the story of meeting your husband, and I was like, oh. And then, you know, the story of you, you know, like essentially finding who you are, and you know, the death and coming through all of that, and becoming who you are today, and being, you know, I can envision you as this little bookworm, and then I look at the woman that you are today, and I'm just totally inspired.
Give me a book. I've got over 2,500 books that's my first preference. I'll go and read.
Yeah, I can just see you in this little corner, and you know, reading, because you know, I love books. I think I love being, you know, drawn into a story. Trish, is there any book that is particularly close to your heart that you'd like to share with us tonight? What's your favourite, or do you not have a favourite? I don't have a favourite. I mean, I have lots of favourites, but I'm going to talk this one because this one just launched today. Yes, so I saw that. It was so exciting. Yeah. My book's arrived and I've launched it. This one I did with a friend of mine, Annette Densham, and it's all about business storytelling. It's about business story. I love the graphics on that one. But if you want to know one that's really close to my heart, it's my Touched by Breast Cancer. That one's really close because that's the one I facilitated, and it's stories of people who've been touched by breast cancer, including mine. And the other one that's close to my heart is coming out this year, which is Forever Changed by Suicide. Yes, I was hoping you'd mention that one because I am actually one of the people who are contributing a chapter to that one. So I've been busily working on that this week. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Forever Changed by Suicide is a compilation book, and I originally called it Touched by Suicide because I was going to go along with that, but I've been thinking about it for a few months, and I didn't want to, it wasn't inclusive enough for me. It was exclusive of people who have actually been through that journey and had tried and come out the other end. So I wanted to include their stories in that as well. So I said it was Forever Changed by Suicide because we are. And ever, it doesn't matter whether you've had just a passing acquaintance with it, whether you've been on that journey fully
or whether you've been through that journey and come out the other end, you are forever changed. So I'm looking for people who would like to contribute chapters for it. I've got space for 4 more authors.
Yes, I was going to ask you if you had space for a couple more authors.
4 more authors, 4 or 5 more authors who would like to share a chapter between 1,500 and 2,500 words. And that's so. A friend of mine who is also the manager of Great Northern Garden of Remembrance, which is where I worked for 12 months, has done one about the first time that she, as a funeral director, was confronted with it. And her other part of that story is actually about Craig. She's written about, because she wasn't the funeral director for that. I had someone else, but she was there. We had 2 viewings, and she was there at the second viewing, which we had for all of his friends. We had one for family and one for his friends, and she was there, and she shares in her chapter about that viewing, which was supposed to be an hour and ended up being 3 hours long, how his friends came and what happened and how it touched her. So I was like, okay.
I believe I've met her.
Rita Marie, yes.
I have met her at your Profitable Planning.
Yeah, because she's also done a chapter on her change, because she's got also a family thing, but she's done one as from the funeral director. So it's also for people who give support or that sort of thing if they want to do a chapter. It'll be one that's very close to my heart, because it'll be coming out, and then Craig's book, because I'm writing Craig's story, will be not long after that.
Oh wow, I'm excited to read that. It's be very hard to write though. It's
taken on a little while. It'll be 13 years in October that he's been gone.
Wow.
So it's a story that's taken a while, but it's Craig's story, because that's the first. One of the big things at the funeral, when I was talking to his friends, was that I did not want his name to be forgotten, because he had nothing that he left behind, no children, nothing. And so I wanted his name to be remembered. So this book will remember his name.
That's beautiful.
That's
beautiful.
That's life.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm totally excited to be a part of that project. And I think you are just an inspiration, Trish. You are a gorgeous soul. You light up a room. You are an incredible woman, and you're doing amazing things. I've watched you firsthand, you know, the way that you've helped other people, but also helped me in my journey. And I'll be forever grateful to you.
You are very welcome. We are all on our journey. We're all on our journey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for joining us tonight. In wrapping up tonight, thank you all, each and every one of you. I know we haven't sort of gone on a bit of usually we talk to each of you, but tonight we've kind of gone a bit over time.
Did anybody want to ask any questions? I didn't even know
if everyone's got time, is there any questions that you guys would like to ask Trish?
No, I'm just really bamboozled you all and overwhelmed you. Okay.
No. Yeah.
You could always
I think, that's right. So Trish's website is obviously up on the screen if you would like to get in contact with her. She's very approachable. She's very kind. And she has some very generous offerings on her website. So definitely get in touch with her. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And for those of you who are listening back in after the recording, thank you also for listening this far. Next week, we have another incredible guest. It is the amazing Di. Trish, you know Di. And she has a phenomenal story that you don't want to miss. She has released 3 books. And Di's story, I have been in contact with her earlier, and she said it's okay. Di was gang raped at about 15 years of age, but she's turned that pain really into power. And so I think, you know, she's just an incredibly wise woman. And she's a beautiful soul. And I think she has a lot to offer each of us. And her books are an inspiration. They are a guidance on, you know, finding a voice. She came from a very violent background and she had to learn to find her own voice. So join us next week. She's going to be great. I know she's going to be awesome. So you're most welcome to join us next week. If you know somebody that would like to listen on that, you know, you are most welcome to invite them. But until next week, take care. Much love. Blessings.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good night.